Top of the SportsMax Zone for this Wednesday. We're bowling off with cricket on the first Wednesday edition of the SportsMax Zone for 2023. President of the Barbados Cricket Association, Conde Riley, is hopping mad that no matches have been scheduled for Kensington Oval in the West Indies four-day championship, which bowls off next month. The match is scheduled for February the 1st to the 1st of April, released by Cricket West Indies last month, listing games in Grenada, Antigua and Barbuda, and Trinidad and Tobago. Riley aired his strong displeasure during an interview on the Mason and Guest show, broadcast on Voice of Barbados on Tuesday.
It's one of those things, where where I sit as a director of Cricket West Indies, I'm very careful about how I come in and things like that. But that won't stop us from repeating as champions. There's lots of things that I don't like. Barbados has a lot to offer. But when things like this happen, I realize why Cricket West Indies is where it is.
Now, Riley says it's unfathomable that matches are not being played at Kensington Oval, the ground almost guaranteeing a bigger attendance than the other grounds being used by CWI.
Jealousy should have anything to do with Barbados not being able to host any matches of defending champions. But I leave that where it is. It just says, it tells a story. No more.
What story is it telling, Conde?
That people are not thinking.
Oh, they're not thinking. Can you explain
They're
that?
not thinking. We are defending champions. I think we would have won the regional competition since 1966 when Tagafi Show was captain. And sometimes when I watch cricket in other places, I see nobody at cricket. The one thing I can assure Caribbean people about is that because of our heritage, we will always have people watching cricket.
Now, the 68-year-old Riley says Cricket West Indies have offered up so-called travel issues as a reason for omitting Kensington Oval from the four-day schedule.
Has the BCA raised any objection, any concerns to Cricket West Indies in relation to that decision?
No, we have not.
Do you intend to?
No. No. You know why?
Tell us.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Oh my dear.
Nope. They say that the problem is travel. So how do they get down to these other islands?
Yes.
Another barrier. I never went to school in August. I used to be on vacation in August.
Yes.
And when I hear ignorance, I just smile. I'm focused on preparing Barbados' cricket teams. And we're doing that now, not only with the men's team, the women's team, the under-19 team, the under-15. That's where the champions, because we will prepare.
Yeah, George Conde Riley obviously very upset. It is a fact that he's not a huge fan of the current Cricket West Indies administration, Ricky Skerritt and Dr. Kishore Shallow, having voted against them in the last round of elections. Does he have good reason here to be upset?
Depends on what the reason that he's fronting is, because I heard him with a few things, some of them on the right side of the issue, some of them which I think are on the wrong side of the issue. So, on the right side of the issue is the fact that Kensington Oval, well, I think I should preface what I'm about to say at the risk of upsetting some people. Not that I'm afraid to upset people, but I don't want to upset people unnecessarily. No ground in the region has a divine right to host games in the West Indies Championship, whether it be T20, ODI, or four-day. All right? No game is prime or center Paris, meaning first among equals, better than anybody, better than every other ground. None is, I don't think any is. However, the reality is that Kensington Oval, Conde is right when he suggests that Kensington Oval guarantees you a crowd of some sort to carry a cricket match. There are many venues around the region, even if you were to put a test match there, you wouldn't get a crowd. You put a regional match in Barbados at Kensington Oval, you'll get a crowd. You put a test match there, you're guaranteed a crowd as well. So from that perspective, Conde is right. The issue of travel, as a man sitting at the seat of Cricket West Indies, I'm going to go with him on that, because under normal circumstances, I would say that the travel issue, Cricket West Indies have cited the travel issue as one which constrains them from going to Barbados, but affords them the chance of going elsewhere in the Eastern Caribbean. I would go with Cricket West Indies. But because the man who poo-poos the travel excuse and says it's ignorance to use travel as a rationale, because he sits at the table of Cricket West Indies, there may be things about that particular way of doing the thing that he knows. So I'm going to support him to say that, looking at it, travel can't be an issue in that part of the Caribbean. It's not as if you're coming all the way west to Jamaica, right? So I'm with him there. So I'm with him on Kensington Oval, guaranteeing you a crowd, and on the travel issue not being strong enough. Where Conde went on the other side, I think if he's saying to me that by virtue of being two-time defending champions, that the Pride ought to host a 4-day championship, I'll say, Conde, what are you drinking? Because that doesn't make any sense. You can't place a championship in a location where the defending champion, the team that has won the last 2 editions of the competition, come from only on the strength of that. That doesn't make sense to me. And I was wondering, sometimes you're speaking and you say some things to find your thoughts, to find your groove, then you double down on an argument. So I was wondering if that's the phase of the conversation that idea came from. But that's ridiculous, almost bordering on rubbish. But I'm going to go with him on Kensington being Kensington. And I mean, I have said that no ground is better than any other, or more primary than any other. But when you look at the bare bones, if you look at the data, Kensington Oval guarantees you a crowd of some kind. Other grounds do not. And if I'm playing cricket in the region, then it's hard for me, if the Kensington folks will have us, for me to not have games in Barbados.
Yeah, of course they call it the Mecca. Barbadians do, pride themselves as having the foremost test cricket or international cricket ground in the region. Having said that, there are other venues throughout the Caribbean, I think, based on their track record, that will guarantee good crowds. Really? I know that whenever matches are played, like in Dominica at Windsor Park, they have very, very massive crowds there in Dominica, and a few other countries in the Eastern Caribbean. But I would accept that the appetite for cricket in Barbados is above average compared to the rest of the Caribbean islands. So Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago are the countries.
But question for let me just check something you said. You said Dominica guarantees a big crowd. For certain when the West Indies play there and the big events, but for the 4-day championship, are you comfortable to say that Dominica guarantees you a crowd for a 4-day game? I just think
that somewhere like Dominica, who doesn't get a lot of cricket, I think that cricket fans in Dominica have a big appetite for cricket. Okay. So if regional matches are played there, I think that they will turn out in fairly big numbers. I also believe that the issue of travel is a little hard to explain. I think Roland Holder was on Mason and Guest a couple of weeks ago explaining why those countries that were chosen, Grenada, Antigua, and were chosen. But I didn't hear exactly what he said. And given Barbados's geographical position, it's hard for me to understand how travel would be an issue that would, remove them as being feasible as hosts. So I think I would have to hear the Cricket West Indies full explanation on that. But I agree that no country has the divine right to be hosting matches, and it is good to have the cricket spread in different regions. Having said that, Antigua and Barbuda have been getting a lot of cricket. Yes. A lot of cricket, women's cricket, men's cricket, international cricket. So not so much Grenada. Trinidad and Tobago has gotten a lot of cricket as well. We've seen the CPL being hosted there during COVID-19 and so on. But I know that the Jamaicans weren't happy either that Sabina Park wouldn't be hosting any matches. I think it probably is about 4 years now that Jamaica has hosted. But
have you heard representation from the president of cricket of the JCA?
I think I heard a story recently about cricket. The story, I think it was Curtis Francis, suggesting
Courtney Francis.
Courtney Francis, expressing a view that he understood But that didn't take away the disappointment.
But let me come again. Have you heard the president of the Jamaica Cricket Association?
It was Courtney Francis.
Courtney Francis.
That was, I think I heard him mention it.
So here's the thing. So I don't think, I mean...
Ghanis haven't had any cricket. They're not on the schedule either.
There you go. Knowing...
But you know what, George, before you say anything, Ghana is not in the Caribbean belt.
Yes.
As is Jamaica aren't so much in that Caribbean belt either. So if they explain to me that Jamaica and Guyana for travel issues would have been problematic, I think I could buy that.
Yeah, but the thing is this though. Again, I'm going with Conde on the travel issue based on what he knows. And I'm hoping he's not being mischievous, because I can just hear someone from Cricket West Indies say, but George, think about it. Yeah. Cricket West Indies doesn't have all the money in the world. Nowhere near it. We are always operating in straightened times. Yes. So if it is that we've opted to distribute the games across territories, and then we've cited issues with travel as the reason for us not going elsewhere, then clearly we're making decisions that make sense and save dollars. Make sense and save dollars. And so... I can imagine Johnny Graves saying that.
Yes.
I can also say that the fact of Conde Riley speaking out for Barbados and the games being played at Kensington is something that I'd like to see done here. I'd like to hear from Billy Heaven championing the cause of Sabina Park and saying, well, Jamaica and Sabina Park haven't had anything for the longest time. And you spoke about TNT getting a lot of cricket and getting the CPL. They made the ground fertile for the CPL to come there. The facilitation that they made, the concessions that they made, it was a business decision. So they understand the business of cricket from the perspective...
Kitts and Nevis did that as well.
From the perspective of the board and government.
Yes.
I don't think... Clearly, that does not mean Jamaica. So I'm just saying, I'm applauding Conde for raising issue and taking issue with CWI for this. But I think he's on the right side of the matter on a couple of the points. I think he's on the wrong side if what he's saying is that Barbados are two-time defending champions, so they should get the games. No.
Yeah, I think that was just part of the arsenal of points that he tried to make, but I don't think that was his primary point. But I think his primary point was the travel issue that he didn't buy.
What I'm saying, that ought not to be a point at all.
No, well, you know, he's a proud Barbadian, and you know how they are about their cricket.
Yeah.
So I think it's not surprising that he went there. Having said that, Cricket West Indies is having its elections in about March or so. Ricky Skerritt is opting not to seek re-election, and maybe Conde is just dirtying the water a bit because he wants to stir up some interest in Cricket West Indies elections.
Maybe so.
Yes. Let's see what happens in the coming months. Back with more on The Zone after this.